What makes a person truly powerful? Is it their words, their threats, their ability to command a room? Or is it something deeper, something unseen yet undeniable? Imagine standing before a predator in the wild. It doesn't snarl, it doesn't lunge. It simply watches, still silent, calculating, and somehow, that silence is more terrifying than any roar. Or picture a chess grandmaster, sitting motionless as his opponent sweats, mind racing, desperate to predict his next move. But he gives away nothing. That is power. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't seek validation. It exists in the quiet confidence of those who don't need to prove themselves. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that true strength comes not from aggression, but from control of oneself, of one's emotions, of the energy one projects into the world. In this video, we'll explore 7 silent strategies from Stoic philosophy that will make your enemies think twice before crossing you. Master these, and you won't need to speak to command respect. Your presence alone will be enough. Let's begin. 1. Master your emotions. The greatest power you can wield is not over others. It is over yourself. When your enemies try to provoke you, when they mock, insult, or attempt to rattle your composure, the instinctive response is to react, to defend yourself, to retaliate, to prove that you are not weak. But here's the truth: the moment you react emotionally, you hand them control. Nothing unsettles an enemy more than someone they cannot provoke when they try to push your buttons and are met with calm indifference. It forces them to question themselves. They don't know how to handle someone who refuses to be manipulated. Your emotional control becomes your weapon, and your composure becomes their greatest frustration. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Strength does not come from shouting, from aggression, or from seeking revenge. It comes from the ability to remain still, in the face of chaos, to rise above provocation, to refuse to let others dictate your emotions. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Victor, worked with someone who constantly tried to undermine him. This person would throw sarcastic remarks, challenge him in front of others, and try to get a reaction. At first, Victor played into it, arguing, defending himself, letting his frustration show. But then he realized something. Every time he reacted, his enemy gained the upper hand. So he made a change. The next time an insult came his way, he remained silent. He didn't flinch, didn't argue, didn't acknowledge the attempt to provoke him. And suddenly the dynamic shifted. His enemy grew frustrated. They lost their power because Victor refused to give it to them. Over time, the provocation stopped entirely. So how do you master your emotions? First, recognize your triggers. Know what unsettles you so you can prepare for it. Second, practice self-discipline. Pause before you react, take a breath. Control your response, and finally, understand that emotional control is strength, not weakness. At the end of the day, true power lies in mastering yourself. When you stay calm, you remain untouchable. And in a world full of chaos, your composure will be the thing that makes you unstoppable. to maintain an unshakable presence. True confidence doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't beg for attention, nor does it seek approval. Instead, it exists as a quiet force, one that commands respect the moment it enters a room. An unshakable presence is built on self-assurance, not arrogance. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you no longer feel the need to prove anything. Your posture, your movements, your energy, they all radiate strength and control. And here's the truth: confidence without arrogance is intimidating. When you move with certainty, when you take up space unapologetically, people take notice not because you demand respect, but because you don't need to ask for it. The Stoics understood this well. Lanzu once said, "Silence is a source of great strength." It's not always what you say or do that holds power, but rather the quiet certainty you project. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. The one who can walk into a room and own their space without saying a word is the one others instinctively respect. Let me share a story. A man I knew, let's call him Marcus, was never the loudest in the room. He didn't seek attention, nor did he try to impress others. Yet somehow people respected him instantly. His posture was strong, his movements deliberate, his energy unwavering. When Marcus entered a conversation, people naturally quieted, not because he demanded it, but because his presence commanded it. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone spoke louder than words ever could. So how do you cultivate this presence? First, stand tall. Your posture influences how others perceive you. Shoulders back, head high, never shrinking. Second, move with intention. Every action should have purpose. And finally, embrace silence. Those who are truly powerful don't need to announce themselves. They simply exist in their strength. At the end of the day, true power is felt, not spoken. Walk into a room with quiet confidence. Own your space, and watch how the world begins to respect you, without you ever needing to say a word. 3. Let your actions speak. Powerful men do not waste time announcing their greatness. They do not explain, they do not boast. They simply act. In a world drowning in empty words and hollow promises, those who move in silence command the most respect. Everyone talks, they talk about their ambitions, their future successes, their grand visions. But words are cheap. True strength is not in what you say, but in what you do. Your discipline, your resilience, your ability to follow through. These are what define you. A person who consistently delivers results does not need to seek validation. Their actions alone speak for them. When you focus on action, you eliminate the need for explanation. You no longer have to convince others of your worth, because they see it in how you carry yourself. They see the results of your effort, the consistency of your discipline, and the quiet determination in your presence. And the best part, your enemies will have nothing to argue against. Words can be twisted, but actions are undeniable. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that virtue, discipline, and resilience were not things to be discussed, but things to be lived. Epic teachers once said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." The moment you stop talking about your strength and start demonstrating it, you become someone that others cannot ignore. and someone that your enemies cannot undermine. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Adrian, was always talking about his ambitions. He would tell everyone about his big plans, about how successful he was going to be. At first, people listened, but after months of inaction, something changed. People stopped taking him seriously. They smiled, nodded, and dismissed his words as just that. Words. Then Adrian made a decision. He stopped talking and started doing. Instead of announcing his goals, he worked in silence every day. He put in the effort, ignored the doubts, and focused on results. Slowly but surely, people started to notice. Not because he told them, but because they saw the transformation. His success was no longer a theory. It was real, and suddenly, the same people who once ignored him now respected him. So how do you let your actions speak? First, be consistent effort. No matter how small, compounds over time. Show up, do the work. Let persistence separate you from those who only talk. Second, pursue excellence. Do not settle for mediocrity. Master your craft, sharpen your skills, and strive to be the best at whatever you do. And third, build resilience. Challenges will come, people will doubt you. But if you keep moving forward, your perseverance will be the proof of your strength. At the end of the day, what you do matters far more than what you say. Your enemies may argue with your words, but they cannot deny your results. So stop talking, act. Let your actions speak so loudly that no words are needed. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. For never overreact to insults. Nothing exposes weakness more than an emotional reaction to an insult. When someone attacks you with words, the natural instinct is to defend yourself, to argue, to retaliate, to prove them wrong. But here's the truth. The moment you react, you hand them power. When you get angry or flustered, you reveal exactly where your vulnerabilities lie. Your enemies now know which buttons to press. What words can shake you, what insults can throw you off balance. They don't control you, you give them control. But there is a way to break free from this trap. Indifference is the ultimate power move. When you refuse to react to an insult, when you remain completely unshaken, you take back control. Your lack of response forces the other person to question themselves. Why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you offended? Why aren't you playing their game? And in that moment of uncertainty, you've already won. This is what the Stoics mastered. Epic teachers taught that our emotions should never be dictated by the actions of others. He believed that insults only have power if we give them meaning. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If someone throws an insult at you and you remain unmoved, the insult dies the moment it is spoken. But if you react, you breathe life into it. You make it real. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew, let's call her Celeste, had a colleague who constantly tried to undermine her. This person would throw sarcastic remarks in meetings, gossip behind her back, and find subtle ways to belittle her. At first, Celeste responded like most people would, defending herself, arguing, trying to prove her worth. But she quickly realized something. Every time she reacted, the insults got worse. Then she made a change. The next time her colleague tried to provoke her, Celeste did nothing. She remained calm, unaffected, indifferent. She didn't defend herself. She didn't acknowledge the insult. She simply continued on as if nothing had happened. And that was when everything shifted. The insults lost their power. Her colleague became frustrated, confused, because they weren't getting the reaction they wanted. Over time, the insults stopped altogether. Celeste had changed the power dynamic by refusing to give away control of her emotions. So how do you master this skill? First, develop self-awareness. When an insult comes your way, pause, breathe. Recognize that you have the power to decide how you respond. Second, stay emotionally controlled. The moment you allow someone to trigger you, you've lost. And finally, embrace indifference. Not every insult deserves a response. In fact, silence is often more powerful than words. At the end of the day, the strongest person is the one who cannot be provoked. When you refuse to react, you strip your enemies of their power. Let them insult, let them mock. It doesn't matter, because their words only have meaning if you allow them to stay calm. Stay unmoved, and watch how quickly they lose their power over you. 5. Control what they know about you. Power is not just about what you do. It's also about what you allow others to know. In a world where people are constantly watching, analyzing, and trying to figure you out, the more predictable you are, the easier it is for others to manipulate you. Your weaknesses, your ambitions, your insecurities, if you make them obvious. You give people the tools to control you. They know what triggers you. They know what you want, and with that knowledge, they can influence your decisions, push you off balance, or use your own desires against you. The key to staying untouchable is controlling what others know about you. This doesn't mean deception. It doesn't mean lying. It means choosing carefully what you reveal and to whom. When you keep certain things to yourself, your struggles, your next moves, even your emotions, you become unpredictable. And the unpredictable cannot be controlled. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Sun Tzu said, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. The true strategist understands that power lies in controlling perception. If you are too open, too transparent, people will know exactly how to counter you. But if you hold back, if you reveal only what is necessary, you remain an enigma, impossible to predict, impossible to manipulate. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Damien, was always open about his life. He shared his struggles, his frustrations, and even his long-term ambitions with his co-workers. He believed that transparency would earn him trust. But over time, he realized that this openness had made him vulnerable. People began using what he shared against him. If he mentioned feeling overwhelmed, he'd suddenly find himself under even more pressure. If he confided in someone about a challenge, it wasn't long before others were questioning his abilities. His own words were being weaponized against him. So Damien made a change. He stopped revealing everything. He spoke less about his struggles, shared his ambitions only when necessary, and became more selective about who he trusted. And something remarkable happened. People started respecting him more because they couldn't predict his every move. They couldn't use his words against him anymore. He'd regain control not by fighting, but by becoming unreadable. So how do you maintain this control? First, be mindful of what you share. Not everyone needs to know your deepest thoughts, your fears, or your plans. Second, embrace mystery. The less predictable you are, the harder it is for others to influence you. And finally, use your strength strategically. Reveal power when necessary. Appear vulnerable when it serves. You control perception and you control the game. At the end of the day, the less others know about you, the more power you hold. Protect your inner world. Keep your plans, your struggles, and your emotions guarded. Make it difficult for others to define you, and you become impossible to manipulate. If you've made it this far, drop a comment with "Stay Unpredictable" and give the video a like. Your support means the world and keeps this channel growing. Let's continue learning together. Thank you for watching. Six, make power moves in silence. The loudest people are rarely the most powerful. Those who constantly announce their plans, their ambitions, and their next big move give away their greatest advantage: the element of surprise. There is something undeniably powerful about moving in silence, about working in the shadows. While the world remains unaware of your progress, in a world where everyone is eager to share their dreams, their strategies, and their next steps, restraint is a rare strength. The more you reveal, the more you expose yourself to interference, doubt, and even sabotage. Some will try to discourage you. Others will give unsolicited advice, and a few may even work against you. But when you keep your ambitions private, you eliminate these obstacles before they ever arise. No one can stop what they don't see coming. Here's the truth announcing your next step. Invites unnecessary resistance. When people don't know what you're planning, they can't predict your moves, they can't block your progress, and they can't manipulate your vision. You become a force that is impossible to control. Your silence is your shield, and your results become the only statement that matters. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epic teachers said, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. The wise do not waste time justifying their path to others. They act, they build, they execute, and when success comes, they do not need to explain anything, because their results say it all. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew, let's call her Naomi, had a habit of sharing her every goal with friends and colleagues. She would talk about her upcoming projects, her dreams, and the big things she was working on. At first it felt empowering, but over time she noticed something. The more she talked, the harder things became. People started questioning her choices, offering opinions she never asked for, and even doubting her ability to succeed. And the worst part, she started doubting herself too. The voices of others became distractions, and the more she listened, the more uncertain she felt. Then Naomi decided to make a change. She stopped announcing her plans. Instead of talking about what she was going to do, she just did it. She focused on her work, ignored the noise, and moved in silence. And when she finally succeeded, there was nothing anyone could say, because the results were undeniable. Her work spoke louder than any words ever could. So how do you make power moves in silence? First, keep your plans to yourself. Not everyone needs to know what you're working on. Let your success be a surprise. Second, stay focused. Talking about your goals does nothing. Execution is what matters. And finally, let your results be your proof. People will see your dedication, your discipline, and your accomplishments, without you ever needing to explain a thing. At the end of the day, true power is not in what you say. It's in what you do. Keep your ambitions private. Work relentlessly and let your success speak for itself. Move in silence and let your results make the loudest statement of all. Seven, be unapologetically yourself. There's nothing more powerful than a person who refuses to apologize for who they are. In a world where most people seek approval, adjust their personalities to fit in, and constantly worry about how they are perceived, standing firm in your true identity is an act of defiance, and defiance, when rooted in authenticity, commands both fear and respect. Most people are desperate to be liked. They suppress their opinions, hide their strengths, and dilute their uniqueness just to avoid standing out. But here's the truth: when you stop trying to fit in, you become untouchable the moment you let go of the need for external validation. You shift the power dynamic. You no longer need to impress anyone, which makes you immune to their judgment. And nothing unsettles people more than someone who doesn't seek their approval. This is why the Stoics emphasized living in accordance with one's true nature. They believe that seeking the approval of others is a trap that leads to misery. Epic teachers taught that freedom comes not from being accepted, but from being independent of the opinions of others. When you stop chasing approval, you gain something far more valuable: self-respect. And when you respect yourself, the world follows. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Elias, spent years molding himself to fit into different social circles. He laughed at jokes he didn't find funny, downplayed his accomplishments to avoid making others uncomfortable, and constantly adjusted his personality to match those around him. But over time, he began to feel drained, disconnected, and lost. He had spent so long trying to fit in that he no longer knew who he really was. Then Elias made a decision. He stopped pretending. He spoke his mind without hesitation, stood firm in his beliefs, and no longer cared if others agreed with him. And something remarkable happened. People started respecting him more. They admired his confidence, his authenticity, and his unwillingness to conform. And the best part, Elias no longer had to wear a mask to feel accepted. The people who truly valued him stayed, and those who couldn't handle his authenticity faded away either way. He won. So how do you become unapologetically yourself? First, stop seeking validation. You don't need anyone's approval to be who you are. The moment you stop chasing acceptance, you gain true power. Second, embrace your uniqueness. The things that make you different are your greatest strengths. Don't hide them, let them shine. And finally, live by your own standards. Stop following rules designed to keep you small. Set your own path and let your life reflect your true self. At the end of the day, those who live authentically are the ones who cannot be controlled. The world fears what it cannot manipulate. So be unapologetically yourself. Stand firm in your identity and watch as people either respect you or disappear. Either way, you win. At the end of the day, true power comes from within. When you stop seeking approval, when you refuse to shrink yourself to fit into others' expectations, you become untouchable. Not because you are trying to impress, but because you have learned to stand fully in your own strength. Own who you are, and the world will have no choice but to respect you. If this resonated with you, drop a comment with power in silence and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on mastering yourself and commanding respect effortlessly. Remember, the strongest person is the one who needs no validation. Stay disciplined, stay unshaken, and I'll see you in the next video.